into the mix. An introduction to the fundamentals of sound design. Now, what is the go into the mix? Well, simply put, as I've stated earlier, into the mix is a thesis output that aims to present and demonstrate the fundamentals of sound design to multimedia students, specifically the third and fourth years multimedia students of the Lyceum of the Philippines, Laguna. Sound design has been a prevailing thing in most multimedia outputs, yet there's always been a distinct misconception about sound design in all of multimedia. Firstly, what is sound design? Sound design, as stated by MusicMed, is the form of creating sounds themselves. This aspect of multimedia is somewhat similar to other disciplines, sound-related disciplines in multimedia, such as sound mixing and sound editing, yet they are different. In our current curriculum here in LPU, we are only discussed most of the forms of sound editing. Now, what is sound editing and how is it different in sound design? Well, as stated by Kosher, sound editing is simply the process of cleaning sounds or basically editing sounds to make them more professional in terms of like audio, monologues, and other simple effects that you can apply into your outputs. And how is it different from sound design? Well, to start off, the main difference comes to the process of doing sound design. Very firstly, sound design, the way of doing sound design can also come in different forms at the same time. It's the same with sound editing, but the most prevailing difference is through their programs called digital audio workstations. Now, digital audio workstations act differently than those programs we've used for sound editing, such as Adobe Audition. Digital audio workstations has the distinct feature of applying generator plugins. These plugins specifically are able to create sounds from the four basic sound waves, which we'll be discussed later, especially in the book. Now, first things first, I've asked all of you guys to download one digital audio workstation, or DAW for short, and that our selected digital audio workstation for this presentation is none other than FL Studio itself. Now there are more digital audio workstations. There's Ableton, Compass Reaper, Apple Studio, and much more. However, for this reason of using FL Studio is because FL Studio has a lifetime free trial where you can opt to learn sound design whenever you want. Thus, for this introductory course, I have here two professional sound designers all the way from Baguio to teach us and share their experience and their work through sound design. So I would like everyone to give a round of applause to Mr. Ray Anthony Agbawa.
Good day, everyone. I am Ray Anthony Agbawa, sound designer, music producer, and part-time digital designer.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you. I'm Miguel Ferrer. I also do sound design, and I like making music with through producing and composing.
We are Arcadence Lab, and we present to you our sound design talk. So Arcadence Lab is a small project that we made. Then we create sound tracks and sound effects for films and video games. And thus, we'd like to thank Ryan Polinas for giving us the platform to share our experiences and insights about sound design.
To start, can I ask everyone to go to this site? It should look like this. When you're on this page, please enter sound design as the password. To start, what is sound design? For us, sound design is the art of creating and manipulating sound and audio that you can use in media or art, like games or films. And let's dive deeper into this by previewing one of our projects, which is a sound redesign of Cyberpunk 2077. For those of you who don't know what a sound redesign is, it's basically replacing the audio of a piece of art or media, for example, films, games, and placing in your own original sounds. In our case, we did that with Cyberpunk 2077.
So this is what we did on our sound redesign.
Okay, so let's break down what we did. And starting with most attention-grabbing sounds like the katana or sword. One of the components of the sound is the whoosh sound. And this is achieved by striking the air. Like, for example, if you grab a stick and strike the air, it makes this whoosh sound. Or if you do this with your handkerchief, like you make it a lasso, it make this whoosh sound. Okay, so what we did is we took a clothes hanger and we struck it in the air in front of the mic. This is what it sounds like. Okay, next thing is the metal sound of the sword. How we did this is we grabbed kitchen utensils. And you might be thinking, oh, he used a kitchen knife, which is like closer to a sword. But we didn't. We simply used the spoon and a fork and we struck it against each other, creating this sound. Next thing we needed is the sound of the body getting stabbed. And no, we didn't actually stab someone. We had to emulate that sound by getting fruits and vegetables and crushing them in front of the mic. That's what it sounds like.
Para maliit. Sa yellow.
Now, combining all those sounds together, we get this. One more time. Okay, so that is one of the beauties of sound design. It's getting one of the attention-grabbing sounds like the katana, which is a really cool sound. Behind the scenes, it's actually not what you think. We simply use the spoon and some fruits, which is pretty cool in my opinion.
And now, let's take a look at the gun sound that was made for our sound redesign on the Cyberpunk 2077. And spoiler alert, we didn't actually shoot someone, so it was all made artificially. Then let's just assume that you already know how a kick drum sounds like. So, and this is what we used for that part. Okay. So imagine that you only have the kick drum part sound on your gunshot. It sounds too boring, sounds too muffled, and sounds too plain, right? So what do you think that is missing on that sound? And we have thought of adding a white noise, and this is how it sounds like. Now, if we add that together with the kick drum that we played, here's the layered sound.
Got
Now it sounds more like a gunshot, but they're still missing. So if you layer more sounds around it, like the explosion of the camera, here's what it sounds like again. One more time. For the last time. Now, as you guys saw the examples down there, let's talk about the importance of sound design. So, films and video games allow us to explore immersive worlds that offer unique experiences. But how do they achieve this? They achieve this by emulating the real world and engaging our basic senses to tell a compelling stories, with sound playing a crucial role. For example, we sense danger when we hear a police siren. We feel at ease when we hear the calming sound of the waves on the ocean. So, sound brings movies and video games to life by giving it character.
Okay, so to demonstrate this, we're going to show you an animation made by MMA students like yourselves. This is without sound, by the way. Okay, so as you can see, the animation looks rushed because they only had a few days to work on the project, and with all hands on deck, the animators had to look for someone to do the sound design for them, and so they approached us, and we did the sound design. This is what that sounds like.
Did anyone else feel that?
I felt it too!
I don't like this.
As you can see, the animation became more alive. The jump scare felt more like a jump scare because of the sound, and the creepy vibes became more creepy because of the sound. That's one of the importance of sound design. It makes the piece of media, it brings it to life.
Sound design is a form of art, and just like any art form, there are many different ways of producing the final result, and that's the beauty of it. The process or the journey can be really fun.
Okay, one of the methods is Foley, or Foley recordings. Foley is basically recording sounds in real life. Like for example, the katana sound earlier, when I recorded fruits and vegetables, that was Foley. And to demonstrate this, let's look at another example. One of our sound redesign projects in Risk of Friendly Returns. Okay, try to focus on the lizard. Okay, so how we made that is through Foley, and we'll show you how that works. Here, as you can see, the audio here. Can you hear that? Okay, if you can hear that, it's basically me growling into the mic, going. Now we're taking the same audio, and we're pitching it up. Now it sounds higher. Now we're taking the same audio again, pitching it down, so it sounds deeper. Like here. Another thing we did is we bit an apple in front of the mic. Like that. And combining all that together, we get the lizard attack sound. So that's how we made that sound effect, using Foley as a method. Okay, another thing is sampling. While Foley really sells the sound because of how realistic it is, sometimes it's not accessible to everyone. Like, for example, not everyone has a microphone to work with, or not everyone has the props. For example, not everyone has guns. Okay, so what we did here, sorry, I'm gonna show you an example first. It's an explosion, right? But we didn't have explosives at home. So what we did was sampling, which is, like I said, it's more accessible to everyone. Okay, so what we used for that explosion is a drum kick. And this is what that sounds like. And how we did that is I didn't explain what sampling is. It's basically taking any sound and editing it and manipulating it to achieve your end result. So from this drum kick, we're going to try and create an explosion. First thing we did is we cut the tail. Then we pitched it down, so it sounds lower now. We added reverb. For those of you who don't know, reverb is basically how something sounds in a room. For example, what your voice sounds like in a bathroom, that's what reverb is. Or how your voice sounds like in a hall or cathedral. Basically, it makes it more echoey or wet. So we took that sound and we shaped the frequencies. We removed the high frequencies. You can't hear it much because it's only playing the low frequencies, but it's basically like putting a towel over it so that you can't hear the high frequencies. Next is we added distortion, so that makes it more grungier or loud. And then we pitched it down, it sounds lower now. We added ODT, which means over the top. It's a type of compressor that basically makes the dynamics of your audio better, or it makes it louder. And then we added another reverb. And then we took the same audio, added the same effects, but this time we added more distortion, more OTT, and if we play both sounds together, but this is called layering, by the way. It's when you play multiple sounds together, so it sounds more powerful. See, it sounds like an explosion now. Going from this kick drum, we were able to create a powerful explosion. To demonstrate that in game again.
So we mentioned earlier that there are many different ways of creating or producing the same result. So we previously created an explosion through sampling, but now we're going to create an explosion sound through sound synthesizers, such as the plugin that you downloaded, the Vital One. So a sound synthesizer is an electronic instrument that generates and manipulates audio, as what Ryan had said. And unlike sampling, which just manipulates the sound synthesizers also generate them, meaning you are making sounds from scratch, starting with the most fundamental form of sound, which are audio waves. For example, sine waves, square waves, and triangles, such that. So, for the example of using sound synthesizers, we'll go through the explosion sound that we made on Cyberpunk. And let's go back to that one. So, along with the gun sound that we have shown earlier, there's an explosion coming from the camera as the impact of the bullet came through. So now let's going to see how it was made through Vital, which is the sound synthesizer. So, as you can see here, this is the sound of the explosion. It's so simple, but along with the gun sound, as you have heard on the clip, so let's see what we have here. As you can see, as we have said, there are several sound waves, such as this sine wave. And if we turn this off, such as the effects down here, we'll only get this sound. It sounds so subtle right now. Plus, if we add more sounds, such as this white noise, now you can hear some sound like a firework being launched. And if we return those effects that we turned off, now it's getting louder and louder. So, as you can see, these effects, along with the sounds that we have used here, are only done in a single sound synthesizer. And that is the power of a sound synthesizer, since if compared to the sound sampling or Foley recordings, you can only rely on a single tool, such as Vital. Now, let's get back again to the clip and see it on action. And to add to that, Vital provides such convenience where we can already modify further the sound that we created, and without touching any audio effects that we have on our DAW. So you can already make your sound louder within Vital only, and that is the power of sound synthesizers. Now, let's proceed to the tools that we use on our sound designing processes. And as well have been discussed by Ryan, we use a digital audio workstation. And for the first one, this is Ableton, and which is a digital audio workstation similar to FL Studio. And a DAW is a comprehensive tool for crafting and manipulating audio elements. So it can be particularly useful, especially for you who are pursuing multimedia arts, since this can help you in creating custom soundtracks, sound effects, and atmospheric audio to enhance visual elements. Another one that we use is Audacity, which is another audio editing software where you can also manipulate sounds similar to Ableton and FL Studio. This is a great platform to start your sound designing journey once you get the hang of it, since Audacity is a free software that you can use and to create sound arrangements for sound designing processes and even for music production. So, despite it not having any built-in virtual instruments, you can use plugins along with other external plugins such as the following.
Okay, every digital audio workstation or DAW, like Ableton or FL Studio, has built-in effects like reverbs and compressors. But if you want something different from that, or maybe if you want an upgrade, you can use plugins. Now, there are a lot of plugins out there. Some are paid, some are free. We mostly use free plugins because we're broke. And
You're going free.
but just because they're free doesn't mean they're bad. There are actually a lot of free plugins out there that are really, really high quality or subpar with the paid ones. One of those is this one called Kilohertz Essential Effects, which already has reverbs, compressors, and stuff like that. And yeah, these are basically upgrades to your stock plugins in your DAW. Another one is a sound synthesizer called Vital, which we presented earlier. We use this for creating sound effects. And what this is basically taking any sound wave, the most basic form of an audio wave like sound wave, sine waves, square waves, or saw waves, using that to make your final result.
Also, we used Fmod, which is a sound effects engine. And it's actually how your game knows what sounds to play depending on the situation. So, for example, if your player is inside a cave, the game will play the ambience of a cave. Another example is how close a player is to the source of a sound. So, player is close to a non-playable character or another player, you'll clearly hear their voice. But if you go further away and away, you'll hear their voice quieter and quieter. Later on, we're going to see the application with video games through Fmod. Some examples that use Fmod is Final Fantasy, Fall Guys, Forza Horizon, and Sekiro, along with other games that we have not shown here.
Okay, we're gonna break down more sound effects for you guys, but this time you can follow along since we're making use of presets. To start, we're going to break down the Somarang sound. This is like the shuriken sound in Naruto. Okay, so the sound you heard earlier was like a shuriken sound in Naruto, if you watched that. The way we did that is using Vital again. And this is a preview. I mentioned that we used Vital, right? The way we did that is actually with white noise. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with white noise, it's basically this sound. See, it's like the static on your TV. So how do we turn that into a shuriken sound? What we did is actually modulate the volume of the white noise. So this, like this. So we're rating the volume to make it sound like it's a shuriken. And to show you that, here. It's modulating the volume in random intervals. Now, if we take that sound, record it, and pitch it down, add some effects. Layer it, we're going to get this sound. To demonstrate that again in game.
What?
See that shuriken weapon there? Next thing we did is... Sorry, it's not loading.
May sound designer na pupulit siya.
Sorry, it's not loading. Hold on. Okay, here's the next one. It's still level up sound. Okay, here's how we made that. Okay, again, there are methods in sound design. The first thing we did is with Foley. We recorded us saying hey into the mic. Then we took the same sample, pitched it up so now it sounds higher. Pitched it down. Together it sounds like this. Now it sounds like a bunch of children chanting hey, and it sort of hypes you up. Another thing we added is a synth. You hear this a lot in video games, is that arpeggiating synth. Next, is we added taiko drums. You hear this a lot in musical theaters, for example, or movies like Dune. And then we added this beautiful chord just to spice it up. And this piano. Now together, it sounds like this. Now this also has a psychological aspect to it, because if we don't have that sound, the players won't feel that sort of dopamine rush to get them to keep playing the game and keep leveling up. So sound design is essential in that part as well. Here's how it sounds like.
So for the next sound design breakdown here is the missile attack of the player. This is how it sounds. So if you are interested in recreating a missile sound, this is how we did it. As you can see, the sequence here. There are 3 layers, such as the hello. The first layer here is the missile launch, and it is offset to play before the missile flight and the missile explosion. So this is how it sounds like, solo. It sounds like a kick drum, but distorted. So on our vital, It uses a sine wave manipulated to be short enough down here, as you can see. So if we turn off the white noise along with the other effects here, it just sounds like a simple subtle kick drum. Now if we add back again the white noise, it just sounds another speeding sound. So if we return that, then if we bring back those effects again, we get that ejecting missile from a bazooka. So now let's move on to the missile flight sound. So this is how it sounds like. It sounds like a hissing snake or a flying missile. Along with an after effect echo on its release. So how we did it is that we use particularly the white noise again. So if we turn off the sine wave down here, it doesn't affect that much. So what we really need to achieve that hissing sound is the white noise. And to make it louder, you apply distortion down there. And to give it more effects, you can apply a phaser or a chorus to make it sound wider instead of having it play on the center of your speakers. You can notice it more when you wear your headphones or earphones. Also, if you can see here, the filter. If you apply a filter that is positioned on this right side, you only hear the high frequencies of your sound. And when you apply your filter down here, if you have observed the sound when it's being released, there's a subtle low frequencies being played, making sound like a boom at the release. There. Then, if we add the explosion sound for this part, it sounds like this one. Just a simple kick drum again. Simple distorted kick drum, as you can hear. But if you add an echo effect, you get that explosion sound, like when a missile explodes. So together with the kick drum that we have, that's what we get. Now all together, this is how it sounds like. Now you can imagine a missile flying around and exploding, right? Then let's see it back again on action here on the clip that we did. But you can't hear it clearly since there's gunshots down there. So for the last one, on our sound redesign, we'll be doing that rapid fire ability of the player. So here on our Ableton, this is how it looks like and sounds like. So what we did here is to create first the initial one-shot sound of that gunshot. So if we turn off this arpeggiator here and the effect, this is how it only sounds. A punchy instant snare like with a kick drum layer down there.
That's
Then on the second layer, more like when you beatbox that poof. So if we check on the vital, as you can see here, we didn't use white noise since we want to spice things up, and we only used brown noise and pink noise, and along with the sine wave being shaped like a kick drum. So what you do here is you shape your sine wave into this shape if you want to recreate a kick drum, or here, down here on your envelope. So if we turn these effects off, it doesn't sound too clicky, doesn't sound too instant, punchy, snare-like sound. But if you turn on back the compressor, now it's getting louder. If I apply an equalizer down here on our equalizer, we exaggerate the high frequencies, so it sounds more less muffled. Then, along with the phaser to make it sound moving and wider. So let's go here on that. Layer. It's just a stylistic choice, since you can just use a simple white noise to layer around that initial kick drum that we did on our first layer. But adding a sine wave down here adds that tweeting sound. If you turn off that white noise, you can hear the pitch goes from high to low. Then, if you turn those effects off, it just sounds like a simple tweeting sound. Now, along with the filter, cutting off the low frequencies and the distortion, making it sound aggressive, sound more violent. Now, all together, perfect sound for a gunshot. Now, if you want to have that rapid fire effect, you can add an arpeggiator to automate that rapid effect. I believe FL Studio also has an arpeggiator which you can use. So if you turn that back on and press just a single key here, now it's playing rapidly. And you can set the rate of that arc. If you increase your rate here, it plays slowly, while if you decrease the rate, now it plays faster. So for the effects, I think we don't have to discuss about it since everything that are placed here are just for the stylistic choices of ours. Since Risofrain is a pixel game, we try to recreate a pixelized rapid fire sound. So with everything here, now it sounds more pixelated. And also, take note of the reverb and delay effects down here. So, without those reverb and delay effects, it just sounds like you're playing the noise inside a closed room. But if you turn on those effects back again, the reverb and delay, you have that echo after effect. So that's it for the rapid fire. And let's see it again on the clip.
Okay, now we're going to show you more sound effects, more breakdown, some sound effects. But this time, you can follow along with your presets. They're in Vital. The purpose of this is to make you guys familiarized with the application, since later we're going to make you do a sound effect from scratch.
So if you have downloaded the presets that was shared with you by Ryan, please open the Cyberpunk door open UI preset. For the first one is the UI prompt. So the way you import a preset is to click on the hamburger menu here, the three bars on your Vital. Then open external preset, the third option down here on your menu. So if the browser shows up, you can proceed to open the Cyberpunk door open UI prompt. UI prompt. Now after importing that preset, you will see this setup of your Vital. As you can see here, it sounds just a simple tweaking sound, like this one. So if we play that first on this sequence, this is just how it sounds like. Excluding the UI action. So first, as you can see here, the UI prompt is just sounding like a tweeting bird. So you can use this when you want to create some user interfaces on your mind, like when you want to make a game, a futuristic game particularly. So when a text prompt shows up, you can use this sound. So what we did here is that you can see a sine wave again. So if you turn off that white noise, along with those effects down here, it sounds like a tweaking sound without the click. But if we return that white noise and exclude the sine wave, it sounds just a white noise that is being triggered multiple times. So together, a clicking, tweeting sound you have. Then if we turn back on the filter here, the low frequencies of your sound wave is excluded now, making it easier for you to hear without exhausting your ears. Now, if you turn on the phaser back again, you'll notice that it will sound like a 3D sound. But if you don't have that phaser, it only plays just at the same time on your earphones. So the effect of phaser is moving around the sound waves, making it sound more stereo. Now along with the reverb, just a subtle effect here. Then, after playing around that sound, please import again the other sound, which is the Cyberpunk Door Open UI action. Just the same procedures that we did down here. So if you have opened that, this is how it should look like. And if we play that, here's how it sounds like. Yes. Just a clicking xylophone-like sound. So you can use this when you also want to create a interactive button, and you can attach this to your buttons when you want it to have an interactive sound. Now, similarly to how I described the effects here, the phaser makes your sound wider, makes it more stereotypic. Then a flanger, similar to how phaser works, it sounds wider. If you turn it off, it just sounds mono, and with the flanger, more wider. Now let's see it in action. As you can see, the door open trigger down there, this part that shows up there. So for the next one, let's proceed here on our sound redesign from Risa Frame. There, the ship landing sound. Now, so for the complete context, as you can see there, the ship was not yet on screen. There. But what we're going to discuss about is the landing sound only, without the explosion.
Oh, I just remembered something.
That part. So, if you have imported it already, the ship landing from Roar, this is the setup, as you can see here. So what you're seeing here now is just a plain white noise again, and a plain white noise, as have been discussed previously. This is just how it sounds like, a static. So what is happening here is that there's the white noise, right? And as you can see here on your LFO, the envelope is shaped like this. if you try to play around the middle part or the middle point of this envelope, now it sounds slower but becomes faster to increase the volume here. But if we have this setup, now it has a fast build up here and a slower build up after. And the thought process behind here is that watching the clip beforehand without sounds like this, if you mute this one, you can see that there is a 2-second interval where the ship still doesn't land. Now, after 2 seconds, the ship lands now. So, we have set up the envelope to rise for 2 seconds. There. Then, the volume level here on your white nose is being modulated by this shape. As you can see, it follows the volume. And if we turn these effects off, it just sounds like a static from the TV or the waves of an ocean. And if we add that distortion, it sounds like a firework or a firework sparkling. Then if we add a compressor, making it louder, the rise up is not too noticeable since everything has become so loud now. So what we did here is to apply a filter. When you apply that filter, modulate it along with the build-up along here, along with the volume gain of your white noise, the build-up of your volume and the high frequencies is much more controlled. It's not too abrupt compared to when without filter, which sounds too loud even right at the start, from the start. There. Now if I apply a phaser, making it sound wider, and if you can notice the subtle effect that is being applied by phaser here, the sound like just parang the pitch going down when you whistle. So if we remove that modulation, if you're wearing your earphones or headphones right now, if you remove that modulation here on the center knob of your phaser, you right click that one, the modulation. Let's demonstrate it back again. If we undo, if you can see this one, the LFO one, the circle, then you click your right click, remove, then try playing it again. The whistle pitching down effect is now removed. But if we undo that, just press this button up here. Now we have that modulation again. Then play it again. That's the effect of the phaser down there. And to add more filtering that is being automated, we added an equalizer. Now it doesn't sound too harsh on your ears when you play it longer, and now it sounds like a ship landing. Like if you want to recreate a sound redesign on NASA's ship like that, you can use this. Or Iron Man's propeller, something like that. Okay, let's see it again on our clip. There you go.
That's it. Look
Okay,
like-
next breakdown we're going to do before we make a sound effect from scratch is a simple footstep sound. This game is called Witchcrafty, if you're curious. So we're going to make this footstep sound effect using Vital. Okay, now go back to your hamburger icon on the top right. Choose Open External Preset and choose Footsteps. Witchcrafty Footsteps. Now, if you open that, you notice that I'm only using white noise here. Like with the shuriken earlier, it sounds like this. Basically, we're doing the same thing with the shuriken earlier. We're just taking white noise and we're modulating the volume level at random intervals. And we're doing it with this modulator here. This is basically a random modulator. Yeah, basically that's it. It's a simple footstep sound that you can use in any film, animation, or game
No, that's a-
using
that's a
using white
perfect
noise.
mix.
And it only takes you a minute to make this. Okay. Were you able to check the effect? Yeah, the preset. Okay, now we're going to make a sound effect from scratch. Now go to your hamburger icon on the top right. Click on Initialize Preset. Now it should look like this. For now, we're starting with a sine wave. If you press a note on your keyboard, it should sound like this. This is a saw wave. Now, first thing we're going to do is make this into a sine wave. And how we do that is click on this init button here, which means initialize. Go choose basic shapes. Now, if you get basic shapes, it should sound like this. By the way, what we're making is a laser sound. And the laser sound should be fast and quick and instant. Right now, we don't really have that sound. So in order to do that, what you're going to do is put the sustain, right, like here. Put the sustain all the way down to 0. Now if you play a note, did you notice that it's quicker, snappier? But the laser sound is much more snappier than that. So in order to make it more quick, we put the decay all the way to, say, 0.1. Now it's a lot quicker than that. But we're not there yet since we don't really have the texture of the laser sound. So in order to do that, we have to turn on filter 1 over here. And if you play a note, you shouldn't be able to hear much since this shape means that we're taking off the high frequencies of the sound. Now, if you notice the slider over here, we slide that all the way to the right, it should bring back the whole full sound. And if we slide it to the left, it's removing the high frequencies again. So this is what we're going to use to make the texture of the laser sound. First, we're going to slide this knob all the way to the right, this cut off knob, and then we're going to this like scroll button here, which is called resonance. Put it all the way to 100%. What this does is it allows the really high frequencies to come through. In other words, it's the maintenance parts of the sound. Okay, now here's where the laser part comes in. If you press a note and you turn the knob here all the way to the left quickly, like simultaneously with pressing a note, you should get this laser sound. Again, when you press a note, slide it really quickly to the left. Okay, obviously we're not going to slide the knob every time we press a note, right? So what we're going to do is modulate this knob or automate it. And how we do that is we go to this LFO1 here. We're going to drag this LFO1 to the knob here, the one we're moving to the left. If you do it directly, it should show a knob here. Good. Okay, so what we do now is we make the value of that knob to negative 128. You should see an indicator here too. There's a highlight going from right to left. Yeah. Okay, now when you press a note, notice that it's going to the left without us dragging the knob. But again, we need the sound to be snappier, quicker, because that's what the laser sound is. And how we do that is we go back here to the tempo. Basically, this is how fast this knob goes from right to left. So what we do is make this tempo 1/16. Now, as you can see, it's faster, but we don't want it to be wobbling like that. We need it to be triggering once only. So we make the mode here envelope. Were you able to get that sound? Yes? Okay. Now, that's a basic laser sound. And for the effects, you don't really need to worry about, we're worried too much about the technical aspects of it. You just have to play around with the sound that you like. Like for example, if you want to add a chorus, turn this on. Notice that it sounds different. If you play around with the knobs, for example, I'll make the spread 0 here. Now it sounds different. It's really up to preference. Whatever you turn on, play with the knobs, you'll get a different sound each time.
Whoa.
So you don't really have to get really technical with this. Just have fun, play around with it. That's how you get a laser sound.
So for the next hands-on that we'll do, let's initialize preset again if you're still on Vital. Now we're back again here. So what we're going to do now is to recreate the slashing sound from Witchcrafty. But we don't need this saw wave here, so we turn that off. Now everything is grayed down here. Now we're going to only turn on the white noise by switching on this button here for the sample of that white noise. Now you're going to hear that sound again. And what we're going to do is to make a slashing sound, right? So we don't want it to sound just like this. But if we play around this volume level here, this knob, now we want to achieve that kind of a behavior for the volume level of your white noise. And similar to what we did on the laser sound, we're going to modulate or automate the volume level of your white noise by using this LFO. So if we drag this LFO down here on your volume level, now the volume is rising up, but it's too slow. So we need to play around your tempo. And if we drag this tempo to the right, now it's faster. Maybe let's set it into 1/8. Now it's looping. So similar to the laser sound, we prevent that looping effect by changing your trigger mode into envelope mode. Now it's playing just once. But it still doesn't sound like a slashing sound. So if we turn on your filter down here, it doesn't affect the white noise since it is only assigned to your oscillator 1. So if you can see here, the white noise is SMP, which means sample. You turn on this SMP button down here. Now it's affecting your white noise sample. And if you want to achieve that effect, similar to the what we did here on the volume level of your white noise, we modulate it back again here on your filter by using LFO2 to separate the modulation of your volume level and to the filter. So now let's get it quicker again. And if you want to make it move from right to left, you reduce the value of your LFO2 into negative. And let's play around the tempo.
There's
But it still doesn't sound too snappy. So let's get back again to our LFO1. Then, as you can see here, this is the peak of your envelope. We move it right here from the middle to the left part. Now it sounds more snappy. And if you want to make it more snappier, where it sounds like this, to have a curve of your volume gain, you can play around this middle point of your envelope. Now you have the initial sound for a slashing effect. And if you want to prevent the low frequencies, as we have said previously, you can use an equalizer or a filter. So if you turn on that equalizer on your effects, then if you press this button, it will cut down the frequencies down here. And if we move this from left to right, now you have that high frequency slashing sound only. And that's the basics on creating a slashing sound, particularly for 2D side-scrolling games, if you want to make one. There you go.
Okay, earlier at the start of the presentation, we let you download a game. And little backstory on that, when Ryan contacted us, we were brainstorming on ways to introduce sound design. And one of those is we wanted to introduce it in video games. And so we made a video game. We programmed it from scratch. Little background on us, we're computer science students, so we programmed this from scratch. We made the art from scratch, and we also made the audio from scratch. So that's what we're going to show you. Please open the game. And for now, just play around with it. Here are the controls.
Download nyo.
For those of you who are curious, we made this using Unity. And how we integrated the sound is what we introduced earlier, Fmod, a sound effects engine.
Oh, I won't.
Okay, so if you have the game open, just press play. There's a bug, I'm sorry.
Ano pa yung other controls niya? Anda.
We have time to let them play for like 5 minutes.
Oh shit.
10 minutes.
Ma?
It's the part that knows when to trigger certain sounds. For example, if you enter a cave, it makes a different sound, like here. And when you get out of the cave, it knows to play the rain sounds or outdoor sounds. So what that is a trigger that Fmod does.
I think so.
And if we die on the spikes, there's also a corresponding sound. There's a sound there.
Kasi nakita ko like, na-survive mo. Na pwede mo taasan. Kasi talaga.
And another feature of Fmod is the proximity, where when you approach an object that has a proximity effect attached to it, when you go near to it, the sound becomes louder, such as this monster. And when you go farther away from that monster, their sound becomes quieter. And I think that is much better observed on 3D games, since you can even apply those spatial sound when, for example, you are hearing footsteps above you or below you, and that is how Fmod works. And this is the application that we made with Fmod. Now for the conclusion of our presentation. So you've seen the power and importance of sound design. It's an essential part in films and video games like what you played, but it sometimes goes unnoticed and is underappreciated. When we talk about movies, we appreciate the visuals and cinematography. When we talk about video games, we talk only about the graphics of that game. But sound design is rarely talked about and appreciated. It is sometimes taken for granted. It's like the bass player in a band. It's the least appreciated role, but it's the heart of the band. It's the role that serves as a link between the other members and their instruments. Without it, the overall piece becomes soulless and lacking.
And if you want to be a sound designer, here are some tips or advice from us. Basically, don't dive deep into the technical aspects of it. Just play around with it, have fun, make it your playground. And that's really how you get into any hobby or field. You learn to love it first before you learn the technical aspects of it. So be creative and love the process. Earlier, like what we showed, we were able to create a cool sword or katana sound just by using the spoon. And yeah, you just really have to be creative and have fun with it. And in the words of Kenny Beats, for those of you who don't know, Kenny Beats is the audio engineer or music producer behind people like Joji, Doja Cat, Mark Rebier, Denzel Curry, people like that. And his words, just don't overthink shit, man. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure everyone had fun and from the wonderful presentation of our wonderful guest speakers. Now, I'm pretty sure some of you still want to do some sound design and all. I would have an hands-on activity myself, however, time is running short. But, as part of my thesis introduction, this thesis has one main output that revolves around the sound design itself, and that is with the introductory course ebook. Everything they have told you, everything they have taught you, you can also learn from this book. From the process of sound design, the effects themselves, how the knobs work, and within this book comes along video tutorials that you can scan QR codes from, where we will have an in-depth guide on how sound design works. So this introductory course ebook you can navigate through the introductory course ebook by scanning this QR code over here. And from there, you will be navigated from a flipbook page of where the book was uploaded. Okay?
Yep.
So this ebook is given to all MMA or rather will be given to all MMA students, specifically as of now the third and fourth years. And yeah, so this is part of the first output of my thesis. And the second output, the video tutorials. And with that comes a conclusion to our presentation, but before we end that, I would like to propose the certificate of appreciations to the guest speakers themselves. So maybe call on the guest speakers to come.
Picture. Wait lang. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Saba po. Sa gitna po. Okay po. 1, 2, 3. One more po. 1, 2, 3. Okay po.
And now concludes the actual workshop itself.